The rain poured down like cold knives from the sky. Water splashed against metal roofs, ran through the cracks in broken walls, and turned the alley floor into thick, muddy puddles. It was night, and the city was quiet, except for the sound of footsteps dragging through the wet alley. A human man stumbled into the darkness, blood dripping from his arm and side. His breathing was heavy. His shirt was torn, stained red. He reached for the wall to hold himself up, but his hand slipped. He fell hard to the ground. From the shadows, someone was watching. Behind a pile of broken crates under a worn hood, too. Glowing violet eyes studied the human. Her name was Soraya. She had been hiding here for years, far from the center of the alien city. No one came to this place unless they were desperate. She knew what he was. She could smell it. Human blood had a strange scent, warm, bitter, alive. Soraya stepped back, fear rising in her chest. She had promised herself she would never go near another human. Not after what happened to her mate. Not after the war. Humans had killed him, called him a traitor for protecting someone like this. Someone with blood like his. But the man was not moving now. He lay still in the mud, his hand twitching, eyes half open. She whispered to herself, "He's going to die." Soraya's breath shook. She should leave. It was safer that way. If the city guards found a human here, they would burn the whole block. If they found her helping him, they would kill her too. Still, she didn't move. Something inside her heart began to ache. Reminded her of someone she had buried long ago. The way he breathed, slow and broken. The way he didn't scream. The way he looked more tired than angry. She stepped out of the shadows. Rain soaked her hood. Her long, pale fingers reached forward. Carefully, she knelt beside him. His eyes blinked open. Just a little, he looked at her. Soraya froze, but he didn't reach for a weapon. He didn't shout, he just stared. His lips moved and she leaned closer. "Help. Me," he whispered. Soraya's hands trembled. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck. Still alive. Barely. He was losing blood too fast. She didn't speak. She didn't think. She reached under his arm, pulled him up with all the strength she had, and dragged him into the shadows. Her old shelter was not far, just behind a pile of rusted metal sheets and a broken drain. She opened the panel in the ground and rolled him inside. The room below was small. A hollow space with a floor made of scavenged wood and soft cloth. She had made it to survive.
Ow.
Now it was a place for a dying stranger. She closed the hatch and lit a small oil lamp. The human was unconscious again. Soraya worked fast. She took off his wet shirt and pressed old bandages to his wounds. She crushed dried healing roots into powder and sprinkled them over the cuts. Then she placed her hand over his chest and closed her eyes. A soft light came from her skin. Her kind had a gift in old magic, rare now, that let them heal others. But it came with a cost. Every time she used it, a part of her own strength faded. That's why she hadn't used it in years. But she used it now. The light sank into his body. His breathing slowed. Color began to return to his face. Soraya sat back, exhausted. She wiped sweat from her forehead and looked at him again. He looked younger now, softer. His hair was dark with streaks of red mud. His skin was pale and marked by scars, and still, he looked like him. She stood up and turned away. She shouldn't have helped him. What if he wakes up and turns violent? What if he calls more humans? What if someone finds out? But no matter how many questions ran through her mind, she couldn't change what she had done. He was here now, in her home, breathing because of her. She sat beside the wall and wrapped her arms around her knees. Her eyes stayed on him. Hours passed. Then he moved. The human groaned and opened his eyes slowly. His voice was weak but clear. "Where?" Soraya pulled her hood over her face and stepped forward. "You're safe. For now." He blinked. "You saved me?" I stopped. "You from dying." "Why?" Her hands clenched. "I don't know," she whispered. The room went quiet again. She looked at him really, looked at him and said with a soft voice full of fear and something else too, "You're hurt, human. Let me heal you." Asterisk the oil. Lamp flickered low as the human lay still on the soft cloth floor. His chest rose and fell slowly now, no longer shaking. But his eyes watched Hurt carefully, silently. Soraya sat across the small room, her back straight, her eyes glowing in. The shadows. She didn't trust him. Not yet. But something in her chest had changed the moment she saw him fall. Something deep, something painful. He was the enemy, but he looked too much like the one she lost. "Your name?" she said, voice low but firm. The human turned his head. "Ryan." She didn't answer, didn't smile, just stared. Played with the old scarf tied around her wrist, her mate's scarf worn and faded. Ryan looked around the dim room. Wooden walls, no windows, one narrow shelf with dried fruit, herbs, and a dull blade. "Where am I?" he asked. "In a place you don't belong," she replied. He winced and sat up slightly. Pain shot through his chest, and he gasped. Her hand moved toward him, then stopped in the air. "I told you," she said. "Slower this time. You're hurt. Let me heal you." Ryan looked into her eyes. "Why are you helping me?" "Your people hate humans." Her jaw tightened. "I know," he raised an eyebrow. "So why me?" She stood up suddenly and walked to the corner, her voice sharp now. "You asked too many questions. Just rest. That's all I can offer." But inside her, the storm had already started. She hadn't used her healing powers in years. Not since the night they dragged her mate from their home, accused him of sheltering a human soldier. They burned him alive while she held their child, hiding under the floorboards. That night changed her forever. The child never spoke again, and Soraya never forgave the world. She promised herself no more humans, no more risks, no more kindness. But then Ryan had fallen into that alley broken, bleeding, helpless, and now he was here. Ryan leaned back, breathing. Slowly, his wounds were better, but his body still ached like fire. He looked around and saw something strange, a drawing carved into the wooden wall. A woman holding a child. Behind them, a tall male figure with a face that looked just like his. He stared. Soraya saw him looking. Her voice dropped. "Don't touch that. Is this your family?" he asked gently. She didn't answer. "Was that your mate?" She looked away. "He died. Long ago." Ryan nodded, understanding growing in his eyes. He was human. She spun around. He was better than any human, and he died because of one. Ryan lowered his eyes. "Then why save me?" She stepped forward, her boots soft on the floor. She knelt beside him, stared into his face. "Because," she said, voice breaking, "I thought I buried him. But then you came bleeding, silent, broken, and I saw him again." Ryan didn't know what to say. He just let the silence hold between them. Soraya stood again and turned away. "Don't mistake my help for trust. You will leave when you're strong enough. And if I can't," her hands clenched, "then you'll die like the others." The room grew cold, but outside something was moving. A deep mechanical hum rolled through the ground. Soraya froze. Her eyes darted to the ceiling, then the wall, then the hatch. Ryan saw her panic. "What is it?" "Patrol drone," she whispered, heart racing. "They scan for heat." "If they find you," Ryan tried to stand, "I'll hide." "No," she snapped. "Don't move." She reached into the wall and pulled out a cloak made of alien threads. It shimmered, dull and rough, and tossed it over him. "Cover your face." He'll breathe loud. "Don't speak." She opened a hidden flap near the lamp and stepped inside. Just in time, the hatch above clicked. A silver sphere floated down with blinking red lights. It hovered over the human's body, scanning, beeping, clicking. Ryan stayed still. Soraya watched through a tiny slit in the flap, her hand on a pulse blade, her mind spinning with fear. One wrong breath, one flicker of energy, and they'd both be burned alive. The drone paused, then beeped again, then rose slowly and left. Minutes passed. Soraya came out, her body shaking. Ryan pulled the cloak down. sweat on his face. "They're hunting me," he said. She nodded. "Always, then. I shouldn't stay." "No," she whispered. "But if you leave now, they'll kill you." He looked at her softer this time. "Then why not just let me go?" Her eyes locked on his. "Because no one helped him when he ran. And I couldn't live with myself if I did the same."
For the
First time, she knelt beside him without fear. And for the first time, Ryan whispered, "Thank you." The metallic smell of smoke drifted through the cracks in the floorboards. Outside, the air was no longer quiet. Boots stomped the wet ground, metal gears clicked, a sharp voice shouted orders in a language not meant for human ears. Soraya's heart pounded against her chest. Her hands moved fast, not with panic, but with the muscle memory of someone who had done this before. "Under the bed," she whispered. Ryan stared at her, confused. "What's happening?" "They're here, for you." His eyes went wide. She grabbed his arm and pulled him to the small crawl space beneath the floor. It was barely the size of a coffin, hidden by a wooden panel and a layer of dust. Ryan hesitated. "Go," she hissed. Now he didn't argue. He dropped into the dark hole just seconds before she kicked the panel shut. A loud knock hit the door above. Then another harder. Soraya took a breath and walked to the top hatch. Her hood was tight over her face. Her hands calm, but her heart screamed inside. She opened the hatch. 2 alien patrol guards stood outside, dressed in black armor with long rifles at their backs. One held a scanner that beeped red. The other stepped forward. "Sector 12, unauthorized heat signature." "We traced it to this location," the taller one said coldly. Soraya kept her voice flat. "I am alone. Step aside." She nodded slowly and moved back. The guards entered. Ryan listened from beneath the floor. Every boot step echoed above him. Every beep of their scanner felt like a hammer to his chest. He held his breath. The scanner buzzed. Again, dash red. One guard turned toward the bed. "Just above the crawl space, check under it," he ordered. Soraya moved fast. She dropped a metal container in front of him, making a loud clang. "My fuel storage is there." "The heat is from the lamp. My kind can't sleep cold." The guard stepped back, annoyed. "You live here?" "Yes." "Alone?" She looked him in the eyes. "Since the war?" The second guard scanned again. Silence. The device turned green. False read. The shorter one grunted, but the taller one kept staring. His eyes narrowed. "We were told a human might be hiding here. If you see anything, report it." She gave a slow nod. "Of course." They turned, walked out, and the door slammed shut behind them. Soraya stood there for a long moment, staring at the floor, sweat dripping from her brow. Then she dropped to her knees and opened the panel. Ryan gasped for air. "You lied for me," he said. She didn't answer, just pulled him up and leaned against the wall. He sat beside her, heart racing. "They'll be back," she nodded. "Why did you do that?" he asked. Her voice was quiet. "'Cause the last time I let them take someone, he never came back." That night, Ryan couldn't sleep. He sat by the small lamp, looking at her while she boiled water and crushed dried roots in her hands. The shelter felt smaller now, like the walls were closing in. "Soraya," he said softly. She paused. "You said you had a daughter." Her eyes met his. He continued, "Where is she?" Her face changed like a shadow passed over her soul. "Hidden in a place no one goes." "Why?" "Because they'd take her if they knew. She's part human." Ryan froze. He looked at her carefully. "Your mate. He wasn't just like me. He was human." She nodded slowly. "Yes. He was the reason I believed in peace. And also the reason I learned peace never comes easy." He whispered, "I'm sorry." Soraya sat across from him, folding her hands. "I see him in you, not just in your face. In the way you look around. Like you don't trust anyone, but still want to. Look down, and that terrifies." "Me." Ryan leaned forward. "You don't have to be afraid of me." But I am, she said, because the more I help you, the more I remember what it felt like to lose someone I loved. The next morning, the sky was gray and the air smelled like ash. Soraya opened the hatch to check outside. There was no one in sight, but something had changed. On the ground, burned into the stone, was a red circle with a slash through it. Her fingers touched it lightly. Ryan looked over her shoulder. What is it? It's a warning, she said. They think someone inside this block helped a human. He stared at it. They know. She turned to him, eyes filled with cold fear. They don't know it's me yet, but they will. And if they do, Ryan looked at the alley, at the burned symbol. At her, then we run, he said. She didn't move, but after a long silence, she whispered, there's only one place they won't follow, but it's a place I promised I'd never go again.
Ow.
Ryan stood tall, even with pain in his bones. Then take me there. The rain had stopped, but the city was on edge. Patrols moved through alleys with silver hounds that could smell human skin from 10 streets away. Sirens didn't ring, but the silence felt louder than any alarm. Soraya stood at the edge of the abandoned district, her cloak wrapped tightly, her eyes fixed on a gate made of bones. She had not stepped beyond this border since the night she became a widow. This place, Ryan whispered behind her, what is it? She looked over her shoulder, her voice low. A place where no one dares to go, not even the guards. Not because of fear, because of shame. Ryan stepped beside her. And why are we going there? Soraya turned her face toward the gate. Because if we don't, they'll find us and kill us. With a creak and a shudder, she pushed the gate open. The inner sector was a grave of broken memories. Hollow homes, walls covered in old rebel symbols, windows shattered by forgotten bombs. Rusted machines lay dead in the street like skeletons from another war. And on one wall, painted in dark blue ink, was the image of a man, tall, strong. Human Ryan stopped and stared. The painting was faded. But there was no mistake. That face, it looked like his own. What is this? He whispered. Soraya didn't answer, just kept walking. He followed. Finally he asked, who was he? She stopped by a house missing half its roof and said quietly, my husband. Ryan stepped closer, confused. That's his face. She nodded. Ryan touched the wall, his fingers resting on the old cracked paint. You told me he was human, but you never said. He looked exactly like me. I didn't say it, she replied, because I didn't want it to matter. But now I see it matters more than I thought. Ryan turned to her, eyes wide. Did you ever wonder if I was him? She blinked, her voice thin. I know you're not. I buried him with my own hands. He lowered his eyes. Still, that explains why you looked at me like I was a ghost. She stepped forward. You're not a ghost. Yeah, but you carry something that hurts to look at. His walk, his eyes, his calm silence. It's all the same. They entered the broken house. Inside, it was untouched, since the war dust, memories, and shadows. Soraya moved through the kitchen like her feet remembered every crack. She lifted a hidden panel in the wall. Ryan watched her pull out a small, metallic cube. She pressed her palm to it. A blue hologram flickered alive. The image of her husband appeared, holding a small alien child in his arms. Her daughter Soraya stared at the image. He built this home with his own hands, she said, and died protecting it. Ryan sat down on a broken chair. What was his name? She whispered Micah. Ryan stared at the image, then back. At her? What happened? Soraya walked to the other side of the room. He gave medicine to a wounded human rebel. The soldiers found out. They dragged him outside. I begged them to stop. I begged them to take me instead. But they made an example of him and told me to watch. She closed her eyes. I did. Ryan stood up slowly. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, she said, turning to him. But now you know why I hid here for so long. Why I feared humans. Why when I saw you bleeding in that alley, I felt like I had already seen it all before. He stepped closer, You saved me because of him. I saved you because something in me broke when he died. And I didn't want to let that broken part become who I am forever. Night fell fast. They lit a small fire in the corner of the house. Ryan asked softly, "Do you think there is a reason I ended up here? That I look like him?" Soraya stared at the flames. "I don't believe in fate, but I believe in chances. And sometimes the universe gives you a second one." Ryan leaned back, sighing. "You still think I'll leave when I'm strong?" Soraya looked away. "You should, but I don't want to." Her eyes snapped toward him. He shrugged. "I'm not just running anymore. You saved me. You trusted me. Now it's my turn." Fire crackled. And then they heard a sound from the back wall. Soraya stood. Fast, Ryan grabbed a broken blade. The sound came again. Then a small hand pushed open a loose board. A. B. Child A's, glowing like Soraya's, peeked into the room. Her voice was quiet. "Mama." Soraya dropped the blade. Tears welled in her eyes. "Lyra." Ryan stood frozen. The child stepped into the light. He saw it clearly. She had human features, and she looked straight at Ryan with wide eyes. "You look like Daddy." Lyra stared at Ryan as if she was looking at a ghost. "Mama," she whispered again, clinging to Soraya's cloak. "Why is Daddy alive?" Soraya's lips parted, but no words came out. Her fingers gently touched Lyra's hair. Her chest rose and fell with slow, careful breaths. She knelt down and wrapped her arms around the child, holding her tightly. "He's not your father," Soraya finally said, her voice shaking. "But he's someone kind." Ryan stood frozen, watching this broken family reunion unfold. He didn't speak, couldn't. His heart felt like it was wrapped in glass, ready to crack. The little girl looked at him again. You have his face. Ryan knelt slowly, offering her a small smile. Lyra nodded without fear. "Will you stay with us?" Before Ryan could answer, Soraya stood up sharply. "No," she said. Ryan looked up, confused. Soraya's voice dropped. "We're not safe." That night, Soraya moved fast. What little supplies were left in the ruined home water tablets, healing dust, dried roots. Lyra carried a single stuffed toy with a missing ear. Ryan checked the windows. That's when he saw it. A red line glowing across the sky. A beacon flare. He turned to Soraya. "What does that mean?" Her eyes went cold. They found our trail." She grabbed Lyra's hand. "They'll purge the sector by morning." "Purge?" Ryan asked, stepping forward. "They'll burn it. Erase everything, everyone." Ryan tightened his grip on the metal rod he had shaped into a weapon. "Then we don't wait. We move." The three of them moved through the city ruins like shadows in the dark. Soraya led, her boots barely making a sound. Lyra followed close, never letting go of her mother's hand. Ryan walked behind, watching every rooftop. They passed homes where people once lived. Graffiti still covered some walls, old words that meant hope, freedom, and forgive them. But now the only sounds were wind and fire in the distance. Suddenly, Lyra stopped. "I hear something," she said softly. Soraya knelt down. "Where?" Lyra pointed behind them. Ryan turned fast. A soft humming noise echoed through the alley. Then a red glow. Drone. Ryan grabbed Soraya and pulled her into the nearest building. Inside was nothing but broken shelves and a half-burnt bed. He pushed Soraya and Lyra behind the wall and raised the metal rod. The drone floated in silently. It scanned the room. Ryan didn't move. The drone paused, then released a sharp click. It was calling backup. Ryan didn't wait. He leaped forward and struck it hard. Sparks exploded as the metal hit the drone's core. It fired a dart, grazing his side. But Ryan didn't stop until it crashed to the ground. Twitching, Soraya rushed to him, eyes wide. "You're bleeding again?" "Yeah, I'm fine," he said, holding his side. She pressed her glowing hand to his skin. Lyra stood beside them, whispering, "More will come now. We have to go." They reached the far edge of the city before dawn, but fire already danced behind them, buildings falling in waves of heat and smoke. The purge had begun. Soraya pointed to a crack in the mountain wall. "A cave," she said. We used it once to hide weapons. Now it's all we've got." Inside, the cave was damp and narrow. It led to a larger chamber safe for now. Ryan collapsed on the ground, exhausted. Lyra sat beside him, placing her toy in his lap. "You're strong," she said with a smile, like he was. Ryan smiled back. "Your father?" She nodded. "He told stories. When one day he didn't come home." Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Won't leave you." Soraya stood at the entrance, her eyes on the rising smoke outside. "You might not get the choice, if they follow us here." Ryan stood again, limping but determined. "Then I'll fight. He'll die. Maybe," he said. "Not before I make sure you and Lyra live." Later, as Lyra slept beside the fire, Soraya sat next to Ryan in silence. After a long pause, she said, "You weren't supposed to be part of our lives." "I know," he replied. But now, she continued, "I don't know what it would be without you." He looked into her tired eyes. "Then don't push me away." She didn't answer, but this time, when her hand touched his side to check the wound, she didn't pull away. Outside, the fire still burned the past. But inside the cave, a new bond was quietly being born. Lyra screamed in her sleep. The firelight flickered on her small face as her fists clenched around her toy. Her breath came fast. Her legs kicked the dirt. Soraya rushed over, kneeling, whispering in their old language, trying to calm her, but she couldn't wake her. The child was trapped in the nightmare. Ryan knelt beside them. "What's wrong?" Soraya's voice cracked. "She has these dreams. Whenever there's fire nearby, because of what happened to her father?" "No," Soraya whispered, brushing the girl's hair back. "Because she saw it." Ryan froze. "She saw the guards drag him out of the house. She heard him scream. She heard me scream too." Ryan gently reached for Lyra's hand. The girl's body slowly relaxed. "She's never spoken about it," Soraya said, her voice small. "She was only 4. She stopped speaking for almost a year. Then one day she started asking where he went. I lied and said he was flying a ship far away. But her dreams always told her the truth." Ryan nodded. "Why, she's stronger than we think." Soraya looked at him. "She's only strong because she had to be." The next morning, Lyra was quiet. She walked beside Ryan, her tiny feet leaving soft tracks in the cave floor. She kept looking at him from the corner of her eyes, studying him. Ryan tried to smile. "You don't trust me yet?" She didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her small satchel and pulled out a blue crystal ruff. Glowing faintly, she placed it in his hand. "My father found this," she said softly. "He said it keeps you safe." Ryan looked at Soraya. She shrugged. "It's a child's belief." Ryan clenched the crystal in his fist. "And I'll believe it too." Later that day, Ryan stepped outside the cave to scout. The sky was full of dark smoke, but no sounds of boots yet. No drones. Still. Something felt wrong. Too quiet. He turned and saw a movement small and quick. He raised his makeshift blade. A figure rushed toward him from the bushes. Not a soldier, a woman. Dirty, limping, holding a wounded alien baby, "Please." She cried in a broken voice. "Don't hurt us. Just let me pass." Ryan lowered the blade. "I won't hurt you." She collapsed at his feet. Soraya heard the voice and ran out. Her eyes widened. "Kyla." The woman looked up. Her eyes filled with tears. "Soraya, you're alive." Ryan stood confused as Soraya helped the woman up. Kyla looked at him. "Is he human?" Soraya didn't answer. Kyla stepped back in fear. But Soraya said quickly, "He saved us. Saved Lyra. He's not like the others." Kyla held the wounded baby close. "I've been running for 3 days. They burned my village. Took the men. Took the girls." Soraya's voice trembled. "Where's your mate?" Kyla looked down. "Gone." That night, there were 4 of them around the fire. Ryan made a bed for the baby using old cloth. Soraya gave Kyla water and bandages. Lyra finally smiled a little as she held the baby's hand. Kyla looked at Ryan again. "Why would a human help us? After everything?" Ryan said nothing for a while. Then he looked at Lyra, because someone small looked at me and didn't scream. She just said, "Will you stay with us?" And I did. Kyla whispered, "If more humans were like you." Ryan nodded. "Then maybe there wouldn't be war." But peace didn't last long. As Soraya and Kyla talked about old memories, Ryan stepped out again for air. That's when he saw it. Far in the trees, red eyes blinking. 6 of them, scout drones. He ran back inside. Get everyone up now. Soraya grabbed Lyra. Kyla scooped up her baby. Ryan blocked the cave entrance just as the first drone flew in. It fired a dart. He dodged and smashed it with a rock. "Run!" he shouted. "Take the left path. There's an old trench." Soraya hesitated. "What about you? I'll hold them off." She grabbed his wrist. "Don't be like him." He smiled. "I'm not dying today." The women and children disappeared into the dark. Ryan stood alone. Another drone flew in. He hurled the rock direct hit. Then a third came from behind. It fired. The dart struck his leg. Pain. Exploded, but he didn't fall. He grabbed the drone, ripped its arm, and slammed it into the wall. He dropped to his knees, bleeding, breathing heavy, then dashed footsteps. Real ones. A voice called out in alien tongue. "Alive, human spotted, prepare transport." Ryan crawled to the fire. The baby's blue crystal was still in his pocket. He held it tight and whispered, "Not today." The last thing Ryan remembered was fire and metal crashing against his skull. When he opened his eyes again, everything was silent. He lay on a cold stone floor, his hands chained to the wall. His leg burned where the dart had hit. He couldn't tell how long he'd been unconscious. Then he heard a sharp hiss. The door slid open. 3 armored soldiers stepped in, weapons ready. Behind them stood a man in white robes, face half covered, eyes full of hate. "So this is the one," the man said. "The human they say she's protecting." Ryan didn't speak. The man walked closer. "I knew Soraya would break someday. She always had weakness in her heart." Ryan's hands curled into fists. "She saved me," he said through gritted teeth. "And I'd do the same for her." Again and again, the man leaned down. "You'll never see her again." Ryan looked up, blood in his teeth. "We'll see about that." In the woods, far from the city, Soraya stared into the fire. Lyra sat on her lap, asleep. Kyla nursed her baby. The night was calm, but Soraya's heart was not. She felt it. Something had gone wrong. "I need to go back," she said suddenly. Kyla looked up. "You don't even know where they took him." "Yes, I do." She reached into her pouch and pulled out a tiny black stone. Lyra's crystal had a twin. He gave it back before he left. "But I didn't tell him. It tracks heartbeats." Kyla's eyes widened. "You're going to save him?" Soraya stood. "No, I'm going to bring him home." Ryan hung limp in his chains as the guards laughed. But his eyes stayed. Open. He was waiting. Waiting for one chance. One mistake. Then it came. The door hissed again, and smoke rolled in. Red smoke. One guard coughed. Another fell to his knees. The third reached for his blaster, but a flash of violet light knocked him off his feet. Soraya stepped into the room, her cloak swirling, her hand glowing bright with energy. Ryan smiled, weak but proud. "Took you long enough." She rushed to him, breaking the chains with a pulse of light. He fell into her arms. "You came," he said. She looked into his eyes. "You stayed." The escape was chaos. Guards fired through the halls. Soraya threw up energy shields with one hand and pulled Ryan with the other. He limped, but kept moving. They burst out into the open field. Ships hovered above, but the grass was thick, the night dark. Blasts rained down from the sky. One tore open the earth beside them. Ryan fell, couldn't get up. Soraya knelt beside him, his tears mixing with sweat. "Get up, please." He reached into his pocket, pulled out Lyra's crystal. "I made a promise," he said. Then he stood, bloodied, broken, but standing. They reached the old rebel trench by sunrise. Kyla waved from a lookout post. Lyra screamed with joy and ran down the hill. "Ryan," she cried. He dropped to his knees and caught her in his arms. She pressed her forehead to his. "I knew you'd come back." Soraya walked toward them slowly. Her cloak was torn, her arms scratched, but her face held a smile that hadn't been seen in years. She knelt beside him and placed her hand on his chest. "You didn't have to do any of this," she said. He shook his head. "I wanted to." She leaned closer. "Why?" He looked at her early. Look, because I didn't just fall into your world. I fell for it. For you. For her. For everything you protected. She blinked fast.
Ow.
You're not him? But you're mine now. Weeks passed. The war didn't stop. But their little valley stayed hidden. Ryan built walls from stone. Soraya grew food using old seeds. Lyra played again, laughed again. One night, as stars glowed above, Soraya and Ryan sat side by side. He held her hand gently. Still afraid of me? She looked at him, her voice soft. Not anymore. Not since the night you bled so I could run, he smiled. Then maybe it's my turn to say it. Say what? He turned to her fully. You're hurt, Soraya. Let me heal you. She leaned in. This time she didn't pull away.